On my 10th birthday, I insisted on having ice cream. My parents had to take me out to buy it. There was a car accident on the road, and only my elder brother Shane Jones and I survived with the protection of our parents. From then on, my elder brother hated me to the core. He took good care of my cousin, but he was cold and malicious towards me. He often asked me, "How come it wasn't you who died in the car accident?" As he wished, I had cancer and would die soon. Chapter 1. Coming out of the hospital, the diagnosis paper in my hand sentenced me to death. It was unexpected but reasonable. I suddenly really wanted to tell my elder brother Shane that his wish was about to come true. Winnie called me at that moment. "Cheryl, today is brother's birthday. Aren't you coming back?" Winnie Wilson was my cousin. She called me Cheryl, but called Shane brother. Shane always called me by my full name, but called her intimately Winnie. The degree of intimacy was clear at a glance. Every year on his birthday, I prepared gifts for him carefully, but he didn't seem to like them and casually threw them aside without even taking a look. However, I thought he would definitely like the gift this year. After all, he had been looking forward to it for so many years. "Well, I'll go back in a while," I answered. As I was about to hang up the phone, I heard Shane's cold and disdainful words. "Why do you ask a stranger to come here? It's a mood killer." Since the age of 10, I had been nothing more than a hated stranger to him. When I arrived at the Jones family's villa, it was already evening and the lights inside were shining brightly. Once upon a time, it used to be a warm harbor for me, but now I couldn't remember when was the last time I came back. Pushing open the door, the original laughter and joy came to an abrupt halt. Shane wore a birthday hat, and his face was smeared with pure white cream by Winnie. It looked funny and heartwarming. The memories of childhood began to come back. Before the age of 10, when my parents were still alive, every year on anyone's birthday, I stubbornly put cream on Shane's face. I arrogantly wrapped my arm around his neck and declared to everyone, "Shane is my elder brother and no one is allowed to compete with me." Now I had lost my elder brother, but he already had a new younger sister. Shane's face instantly sank when he saw me. "Who let you come? You are not welcome here." I knew I was not welcome without him saying it, but I still wanted to find an excuse to see him. I wanted to take a good look at him. Maybe it was a farewell. I forced a smile, pulling the corners of my mouth. "Happy birthday." I handed him an envelope containing my diagnosis certificate. "This is my last birthday gift for you." Shane's face instantly turned dark. "Are you cursing me?" He suddenly knocked the envelope out of my hand. The force was so strong that my arm went numb. I didn't know if it was because death was approaching, but even the slightest pain was magnified several times. "Cheryl, if you don't want to come, you don't have to. Do you think I will beg you to come?" "It's not that I don't want to come. I can't come anymore. Before leaving, clean up the mess in your bedroom. Winnie happens to need a music room." I turned around and went upstairs, pushing open the door to my bedroom. The furnishings inside had been frozen in time since I was 10 years old. The princess dresses my mom bought for me were still in the wardrobe. I packed my childhood clothes into the box one by one. There were also many items related to Chibi Maruko-chan on the desk, which Shane collected for me before I turned 10. I packed a box full of warm memories before I turned 10. On the day of my death, they were there to accompany me. At least I won't be lonely and afraid. The suitcase was a bit heavy, my body was weak, and I couldn't move it anymore. When I was going downstairs, I accidentally looked up and met Shane's gaze. I lost my footing, and the suitcase rolled down the stairs. The items related to Chibi Maruko-chan broke free from the constraints of the suitcase and shattered. Shane quietly looked at the mess on the ground, with turmoil in his eyes. "Cheryl Jones, you're cruel. You're really cruel. Get lost. Don't let me see you again." I didn't care about the pain from the fall. I crawled and stuffed everything, good and bad, into the suitcase. Like a deserter, I escaped through the gate. It was raining heavily outside, but it was embarrassing for me to go back since I came out in a hurry. The door behind me opened. I turned around with hope, thinking that Shane would shelter me from the wind and rain like he did when we were children and protect me by his side. But he just coldly threw the envelope I gave him into the rain. The paper was soaked, the ink was mottled, and it was unrecognizable. Call the decorators tomorrow and renovate the entire bedroom. I couldn't tell if the water in my face was sweat or tears. I turned back and took a deep look at this place that had witnessed my joys and sorrows. Farewell. Chapter 2. After getting out of the taxi, the rain outside was still drizzling. In the community, it was dark, with only warm lights shining from the residential buildings in the distance. After getting wet in the rain, I felt dizzy and cold, with my stomach churning. The house was empty, without any sense of home. It's okay, I still have them. I opened the suitcase and took out the things inside one by one. The items related to Chibi Maruko-chan had been damaged, and even the princess dresses were wet. I didn't cry when I knew the diagnosis, nor did I cry when I was kicked out by Shane, but now I couldn't control myself anymore. I curled up on the sofa, tears flowing like a bursting flood. I always greedily wanted to hold on to the warmth around me, but in the end, I struggled in vain. I still vividly remembered the sympathetic look from the doctor. Cheryl, spend more time with your family, do what you want to do, and don't have any regrets. But I had long lost my family. In my life after the age of 10, only regrets remained. In a half-awake state, my stomach hurt uncomfortably. Before I could even run to the bathroom, I vomited a mouthful of blood. The bright red blood stung my nerves, as if it were the car accident from years ago. Back then, my brother and I were protected by our parents, surrounded by a sea of bright red blood. My parents had long been silent. I was scared and cried loudly. My elder brother tightly held my hand and said, "Cheryl, brother is still here. Don't be afraid." He sang to me and told me stories. After being rescued, I still held his hand tightly and followed him closely. His leg was injured, but he still gave his hospital bed to me to sleep on even when he was on the drip. He sat aside and accompanied me. How does my dear brother, who used to take care of me so much, disappear in the following years? The blood awakened my terrible memories. The strong facade I put on during the day collapsed in an instant. I trembled as I picked at my phone, hoping to find some comfort. The phone was answered, but it was Winnie's voice that came through. "Cheryl, please, can you stop bothering brother? You caused him to lose his parents, but you can't help him with anything. Can you please stop causing him trouble?" I stood still, stunned, as the phone was hung up at some point. It turns out that in his heart, I am just a troublemaker, a harmful person. I used to be the baby he held in his hands. He gave me my name, saying that he would treat me well for a lifetime. Feeling alternately hot and cold, my consciousness became a bit hazy, and I fell onto the sofa. In a daze, a familiar figure broke in and anxiously and gently picked me up. His embrace was so warm. A deep and pleasant voice sounded in my ear. "Cheryl, wake up, little dear. The sun is shining on your butt." I struggled to open my eyes, only to see the cold rental room. The conspicuous blood on the floor and the tightly closed door reminded me that everything just now was a dream. It was just a dream made by a dying, lonely person. The day had already dawned. I touched my forehead, and it was still very hot. I went to the hospital with a stiff body and was scolded by the doctor. "With your body, you dare to get caught in the rain. Do you still want to live?" Although he had a stern face, I felt the long-lost warmth. The doctor asked me to stay in the hospital for 2 days for observation. When I went to go through the admission procedures, I coincidentally ran into Shane. Although he was wearing a mask, I still recognized him at a glance. He also saw me, and a hint of surprise flashed in his eyes. Chapter 3. I suddenly felt a little scared. I was afraid that he really knew that I was going to die, and I was afraid I would be his trouble again. But I had a faint expectation. If he knew that I was going to die, would he be a little nicer to me, even just a little bit? I was lost in thought, as if it had been a long time, but it was just a moment. A delicate figure walked out of the pharmacy and approached him, holding his arm. "Brother, the medicine is ready, let's go." My aunt, Winnie's mother, also died in that car accident. Winnie's father quickly recovered from the pain and married a new wife. That family could no longer accommodate Winnie, so she moved to our house. 3 children supported the entire Jones family. After Winnie came, everything changed silently. Facing my crying and sobbing, my brother showed an impatient expression for the first time. Cheryl, can you learn from Winnie and be a little more obedient and sensible? Can you give way to Winnie? This is what you owe her. Until I was 18 years old, he looked at me with disappointment all over his eyes when I came back in the morning, drunk and reeking of alcohol. Cheryl, I've been kind to you, so from now on, you're on your own. In the future, don't say that you are my younger sister anymore. My younger sister is only Winnie. My nose twitched, and I lowered my head, feeling at a loss. Winnie whispered, "That person seems to be Cheryl. Is she also sick? Should we go and ask?" Shane snorted coldly from his nose. "Why do you care about her? It's all her own doing." All the random thoughts that had just arisen in my mind suddenly disappeared, and my heart felt like it had been hit by a heavy hammer. When I was a child, even if I just coughed lightly, he would worry if I caught a cold. Now, even I was very ill, he didn't even bother to ask. He really didn't care about me anymore. Feeling a cool sensation on my face, I raised my hand and realized that my eyes were wet. "Cheryl, it's okay. Just wait a little longer. Just wait a little longer. Then you will be relieved." The food in the hospital was really bland, so I ordered takeout. I carried a lot of food and filled the table. The fragrant smell awakened my taste buds, and my hungry stomach finally found comfort. I picked up the chopsticks and filled them into my stomach one by one. When my stomach was full, my heart wouldn't feel empty. But eating too much eventually backfired, and I leaned over the toilet in the bathroom, vomiting uncontrollably. I sat on the bathroom floor recklessly until the nurse found me. She blamed me for not taking care of my body while secretly giving me half of her stomach-nourishing porridge. "Miss, if you harm your body like this, your family will be worried. Will Shane worry about me?" I inexplicably remembered what the doctor said that day. "Take good care of yourself, and you can live for another 2 or 3 years." But I had no reason to live on. My brother hoped me to die for years. On the day of discharge, the familiar little nurse chased after me. She handed me a talisman. "Miss, I don't know what you have been through, but if your parents were here, they would definitely feel sorry for you. So, even for their sake, you must take good care of yourself." The advice from an acquaintance was so precious at the end of life. Back home, looking at my pale face in the mirror, I thought I must keep decent at the end of my life. I put on makeup and my complexion looked much better. Then I went to the mall. With the rise of online shopping, there were not many people in the mall. After browsing for a long time, I finally chose a white long dress. I was just about to take that dress when I heard a familiar voice behind me. "Brother, this dress looks really nice. It must suit me well." It was such a coincidence that I ran into Shane and Winnie at the mall during work hours. Shane was a famous workaholic. When I was 15, on a weekend, I begged him to accompany me to the mall, but he sternly refused because of work. Now he was strolling around with Winnie on a workday. When Winnie saw me, she calmly greeted me. "Cheryl, what are you doing here?" Her words might be unintentional, but they made Shane's face turn cold. I didn't pay attention to them. I just wanted to buy the dress and leave quickly. When Winnie and I both pointed to the dress, the salesperson kept apologizing. "Sorry, this dress is the last one available. I was here first, so please wrap it up for me. I might not be able to go out tomorrow." I didn't want to be humble this time. Winnie didn't say anything yet, but Shane stood in front of me, just like countless times in my memory. "Cheryl, give the dress to Winnie." I looked up and stared into his indifferent eyes. Yes, I am the elder sister, so I should give in to her. Besides, I owe her. If it weren't for me, her mother would still be alive, and she wouldn't have to act according to others' will all the time. I said what he wanted to say first. A trace of unnaturalness flashed across his face, and he coughed. "It's good that you know. Hurry up and give the dress to Winnie." I pulled the corners of my mouth at him, probably laughing very ugly. I didn't remember how to laugh anymore. But so what? "Shane, I won't do it." Chapter 4. For so many years, I silently gave in to her every time, my clothes, my room, even my brother. Now I had nothing. Shane obviously didn't expect me to refuse. He was stunned for a moment and wanted to say something else, but was stopped by Winnie. I have bought the dress I liked. But why am I not happy at all? As the days went by, my physical condition was getting worse. Buying a cemetery plot became part of my schedule. I had set my sights on the plot next to my parents' grave, but the price was too expensive and I couldn't afford it with my remaining savings. I wondered if Shane would give me some money, considering that I was about to die, and fulfill his wish. When I arrived at the Jones residence, a grand banquet was being held inside. I originally wanted to back out, but Winnie with sharp eyes spotted me. She led me inside. I was wearing loose, casual clothes, looking like a clown among the crowd of people in suits and formal attire. I hid on the balcony, watching Shane and Winnie standing together, toasting and chatting with others. It was fake to say that I was not envious. I blinked my eyes and turned to look at the night outside, silently thinking about when they would end. I didn't know when someone came up behind me. When I reacted, I was already enveloped in his shadow. After a few years of separation, Miss Jones seems to have lost weight. I looked at his eyes. A sense of despair filled my heart. I wanted to escape, but he blocked my way. Old acquaintances meet. Don't we catch up? The fear at the age of 18 swept over me. I kept retreating until there was no way to retreat. I took out a knife from my bag and waved it in front of me to stop him from approaching. It was just a backup because I was insecure and I never thought it would become my lifesaver. But that person kept pressing on, the knife in my hand cut through his hand, blood flowing. Cheryl, what are you doing? Shane's roar sounded behind me, and he slapped me hard. Are you awake? I was like a drowning person, mouth open but unable to breathe. My mind was in a daze, and the fierce beast in my mind was about to break free from its cage. The man covered his hand, his face full of pain. I just wanted to say hello, but she suddenly went crazy and hurt me. Mr. Jones, you need to give me an explanation otherwise. Winnie rushed over. Seeing the situation here, she frowned and looked at me reproachfully. Cheryl, you have caused trouble for brother again. Trouble? I am a trouble. The gazes of the three people were like butcher knives, slowly torturing me with each cut. My head hurt, my stomach hurt, and I felt pain all over my body. Cheryl, what do you want me to do before you can be sensible? I wanted to cry, but I didn't know who to cry to. I wanted to get away from here. My stomach churned uncontrollably, and I couldn't hold it in after a few attempts to suppress it. Crimson blood gushed out from my mouth, staining my clothes in front of my chest. Chapter 5. Shane paused for a moment and instinctively took a step forward to try to support me. I quietly stepped back, avoiding his outstretched hand. Yes, I am trouble, a troublemaker. No matter who I am with, no matter what I do, it's always my fault. Regardless of the reason, regardless of right or wrong, it's just because I am a sinner. I am the one who killed our parents. Is that right? Shane's eyes gradually changed from panic to indifference. Did I say something wrong? Isn't it because you were greedy and caused them to die in the car accident, causing me to become an orphan? He finally spoke his mind and said the things that had been weighing on his heart for so many years. So, I deserve to die. Congratulations, Shane. You will get what you want, and I will die soon. So, I won't owe you anything anymore, right? Brother, goodbye forever. I pushed them aside in a daze and ran out stumbling. Since Winnie came, Shane had become more and more impatient with me. He always told me to be obedient and sensible. I knew he was pressured by life. I felt sorry for him but couldn't do anything about it. I could only study hard and hope that I could help him after I graduated from a good university. When I was 18, I finally received the admission letter from the top 1 university, Harvard University. I was full of expectations and imagined that my brother would be happy if he saw it. He would be pleased to see me being so well-behaved and successful. Would he become the caring brother he used to be? That day, he didn't come back until late at night. He often stayed out late for socializing, but that day I was particularly restless. I asked many people and went to many places and finally found him in a bar. At that time, he was already unconscious from drinking, and his opponent was holding a sharp broken bottle against his eyes. You dare to steal away my business. I'll teach you a lesson." In that instant, my heart almost jumped out of my throat, and I rushed forward like crazy to stand in front of him. "Don't hurt my brother." The group of people looked at me with playful eyes, as if they had seen something fun. I felt scared, but when I saw my brother behind me, I suddenly had endless courage. "I can let your brother go, but you have to drink all the wine on this table." I wanted to secretly call the police, but they took away my phone and blocked my way out. With no way to go out, I had to drink one cup after another, as if I could never finish. My consciousness gradually became blurred, and the sinister laughter around me continued. "Shane's sister seems interesting. Let's give him the big gift." They let Shane go, but it became hell for me. No matter how I begged and cried, they still didn't let me go. I closed my eyes, hoping it was just a nightmare. The next day, I dragged my tired body back home with reeking of alcohol, only to be greeted by Shane's angry and disappointed eyes. He slapped me hard. It was the first time he had ever hit me since I was little. "Cheryl, look at what you've become now. Do you still have any shame?" He threw his phone in front of me. I just knew that person had taken photos of me being bullied. "Cheryl, I've been kind to you, so from now on, you're on your own. In the future, don't say that you are my sister anymore. My sister is only Winnie." He compromised because of my photo and gave up the hard-earned order. He hated me because of it. I stumbled out of the Jones residence, with nowhere to go. That acceptance letter from Harvard University was discovered by them the night before and burned in front of me, turning into ashes. At the age of 18, it seemed like a nightmare that I couldn't get rid of. I wanted to die, and I even cut my wrists, but I was still saved. Winnie came to see me. She looked at me with pity and helplessness. "If you die now, what will brother do? Are you trying to exchange your death for his lifelong guilt? It's already difficult for him to raise you. Can you stop being so selfish?" It turned out that even if I died, I would still be a burden to him. I closed my eyes wearily. I won't die, at least not in the next 2 years. There is no hope for living, nor freedom in death. I was like a walking corpse, or a rat in the sewer, only fit to live in darkness. Sometimes I couldn't help thinking, why didn't the car accident take me away when I was 10 years old? Every day of being alive was torture, but I still lived with all my strength. After that, I rarely saw Shane. Even if I met him, he was indifferent to me. The irregular daily routine and diet made my stomach occasionally start to act up. When I was finally diagnosed with stomach cancer, I was even a little happy. Finally, I could die legitimately. Chapter 6. After leaving the Jones residence, I moved out of the apartment I rented. I couldn't die in someone else's house to avoid affecting it to be rented out in the future. I rented a small courtyard in the countryside. I had found a piece of land in the wilderness. On my birthday, I would go there to end my life. Although it was regrettable that I could not be with my parents, it was comforting to have the same death day with them. There was one more regret, which was that I didn't have a proper farewell with Shane. Anyway, he was my blood brother and had protected me for many years. Just when I was ready, Shane found me a few days before my birthday. He stood at the gate of the courtyard, silently watching me. I didn't know why he came to find me and how he found this place. I had a lot to say, but when I actually saw him, all I could say was hello. Shane sat beside me, just like an ordinary friend. "How have you been recently? Have you been picky and not eating well?" I shook my head with a bitter smile. "I haven't been like that for a long time." We both fell into a long silence. When I was a child, I was very picky. Shane always tried his best to coax me to eat a few more bites of vegetables. The kids in the yard bullied me, and he would stand in front of me to protect me. "This is my sister. I won't allow you to bully her." He would hold my hand every time we went out and kiss my face every night before bed, saying goodnight. How did we, who were once so intimate, end up like this? "Cheryl, move back home." I was about to refuse, but I was hooked by his next sentence. "It's almost the Christmas, and we haven't celebrated the Christmas together for a long time." I, who had already made up my mind, suddenly wavered. Being together was an enticing phrase. I had spent several years in solitude. When facing death, I always wanted to take some beautiful memories with me. I went back to the Jones residence with him. My bedroom was not redecorated. There were new items related to Chibi Maruko-chan on the table. I didn't know when they were placed there. Everything in the house was still the same as before. So, brother, you still love me, right? I dared not ask, for fear that all of this was just an illusion. Winnie still had an expressionless face as always, but she took care of Shane meticulously. He loved her not without a reason. Well, at least after I died, there would still be someone accompanying him. Shane seemed to know something. He never mentioned an apology, but he always took care of me. He was like trying to make up for all the regrets of these many years. He personally cooked the food that I loved. Although I couldn't eat much anymore, I still forced myself to eat it, and then vomited it out after I went back to my room. He bought me many beautiful dresses. But I had many scars on my body, and I didn't want to show them to him. He said he wanted to buy me a house and jewelry. I refused. Those were all worldly possessions for the dying. On my birthday, I secretly put on the white dress, wanting to end my life in the place where I chose. But early in the morning, Shane followed behind me. He took me to ride the skywheel. When we reached the highest point and saw the lights of thousands of households beneath us, he spoke softly. Cher, I'm sorry brother didn't take care of you well. In the darkness, my long-dried tears suddenly burst out. Cher, a familiar yet unfamiliar nickname. I almost forgot that there was someone who used to call me Cher with tenderness. There were people releasing skylights in both sides of the river under my feet. I swallowed the lump in my throat and watched the sky light flying higher and higher. When I just lost my parents, I was helpless, crying every day to find them. Shane brought me to the riverside, accompanied me to write words of missing on the skylight, and let it drift in the sky. Brother, can the skylight really bring my missing to my parents in the sky? Yes, definitely. As a young child, I believed it and often came to the riverside to release skylights when I couldn't hold on. Since I didn't answer him, he turned to look at me. Cheryl, what are you looking at? I pointed to the skylight. Brother, if one day I also die, will you release a skylight for me? He rubbed my hair, and his throat seemed to be choked with something. It's you who will release it for me. You are several years younger than me, and you always outlive me. On the way back, we were silent all the way. When we were children, we used to talk endlessly under a quilt. I never thought that one day we would be silent to each other. When we arrived home, Winnie was still waiting. When she saw us coming back, she breathed a sigh of relief. Brother, you should rest early tomorrow because there is a meeting tomorrow. Before entering the bedroom, Shane stopped me. Cher, happy birthday. Sorry, I will make up for the gift next time. Since I was 10 years old, I have never celebrated my birthday again, and no one has ever said happy birthday to me. How can I be happy? How can I be happy? For so many years, I have never eaten cake or ice cream again. I hate them. Brother, what should we do? There is no future anymore. The next day, Shane had already gone to work, but Winnie was waiting for me in the living room. Chapter 7. In fact, there was no big conflict between me and Winnie. When we were young, we were not sensible and could argue over a pen or a biscuit for a long time. When we grew up, we both became quiet, and coupled with the car accident, we rarely talked to each other like sisters. Winnie graduated this year and had entered Shane's company to help him. I was actually very surprised when she said she wanted to talk to me. When a person was about to die, many past grievances seemed to fade away. Brother recently sent Felix James to prison. Seeing my confusion, she took the opportunity to explain. It's the person you hurt that night. I didn't understand why she suddenly told me these things. She seemed to see my doubts and continued on her own. Cheryl, to be honest, I envy you for having a brother who loves you so much. Over the years, I know you haven't had an easy life, but brother has had an even harder time. At that time, he was just a half-grown child, but he had to support the two of us. After years, things got a little better. After your incident, he almost killed Felix that day. If he did not consider that no one would take care of you if he was put in jail, he would definitely not hesitate to kill him. He had many enemies, and his wings were not yet full. He could only sacrifice the hard-won order to get your photo back. He was afraid that you would be hurt again, so he ruthlessly drove you out. In these years, you thought he didn't care about you, but if it weren't for him, how could you easily find a decent job? I couldn't deny that it was shocking in my heart, and if I wanted to blame, I could only blame the fickleness of fate. Winnie suddenly knelt down in front of me. She grabbed my clothes and sobbed. Cheryl, I have checked your medical records in the hospital. I know you have got stomach cancer. But can you please, before you leave, save brother? I stood still in a daze. I understood every word she said, but I couldn't understand them when they were put together. After you left, brother was found a heart problem, and it has become more serious over the years. I can tell that he misses you, so I took the liberty of inviting you back for his birthday last time. I can tell that he was happy, but I don't know why you two ended up unhappily. That night, brother's heart disease relapsed, and the next day when we were discharged from the hospital, you also saw us, right? I remembered that day. He was wearing a mask and his face was pale. I thought he was accompanying Winnie to see a doctor, but I didn't expect it to be Winnie accompanying him to see a doctor. At that time, I was sad for a long time in a sentimental way. I didn't go forward to care for him. Was he also sad and upset? Later, brother accompanied me to buy a dress. It was because there was an important negotiation that day, and the dress I had prepared in advance got dirty. In the recent banquet, we didn't invite Felix originally. It was him who came to seek reconciliation because brother has been collecting evidence of his crimes for so many years. That incident stimulated brother, and he remained unconscious in the hospital for many days. The doctor said that if there was no suitable heart transplant, brother... I suddenly remembered our conversation last night on the Skywheel. Brother, if one day I also die, will you release a skylight for me? It's you who will release it for me. You're several years younger than me, and you always outlive me. Tears wet my eyes unconsciously. Cheryl, can you give your heart to brother? Winnie's eyes were misty. Biting her lip, she looked stubborn and fragile. Cheryl, I have lost my mother and my family. I can't lose brother anymore. I beg you, please save him. All right, I was supposed to die, but if I could save my brother's life, it would be a repayment for his sacrifice for me. I was indeed a trouble. I went to the hospital for examination and matching. Luckily, it was a good match. 2 days before his surgery, I was packing my luggage. Brother, I suddenly want to go far away and travel for a while. Don't miss me, okay? He became anxious and insisted on asking me where I was going. He wanted to accompany me. I made plans with my friends. You stay at home and wait for me. I will send you postcards. He took me to the airport and hugged me tightly before parting. Cher, don't forget to come home. Brother will be at home, always waiting for you. Watching his figure disappear at the end of my sight, I turned around and took a taxi to the hospital. The last time I saw him, he was wearing an oxygen mask, tightly wrapped under the surgical sheet. I gently held his hand and resolutely lay on another operating table. Brother, without me being a trouble, you have to take good care of yourself in the future. Live well, live a long life, and live my life for me. Goodbye, brother. I slowly closed my eyes. Chapter 8, Shane's side story. When I had a dream, a very long dream. On Cheryl's 10th birthday, our parents had a car accident and sacrificed their lives to save me and my sister. Mom often said that I was the elder brother and I should love and take care of my sister for a lifetime. Our parents were gone, and overnight, my sister and I became orphans. But I still had to take care of my sister, so I gritted my teeth and overcame one obstacle after another. Although life was difficult, fortunately, there was a lovely sister waiting for me at home. Later, my cousin Winnie came, and I treated them equally. They sympathized with each other and quickly became close sisters who could talk about anything. Both of them were very hardworking and always ranked first in their grade. When Cher turned 18, I was harassed by my archenemy and got drunk. Fortunately, the police cracked down heavily that day, and my archenemy had to leave in frustration. The next day, when I woke up, Cher told me that she had been admitted to Harvard University. I was overjoyed. On the day of the school opening, I personally took her to the campus and watched her start her new life full of youth and sunshine. Later, she graduated successfully and joined my company with Winnie to help me. With their help, my career flourished. Afterwards, she found the person she loved, got married, and had children and grandchildren. And I, too, had grown old with white hair. In my final moments, she stayed by my bedside. Brother, in the next life, will you still be my brother? All right, brother, wake up. I struggled to open my eyes, and all I saw was white. Then I saw Winnie's joyful face. Brother, you finally woke up. Shane's side story, too. I looked at her, and then struggled to look around, trying to find another figure. Winnie wiped away the tears from the corner of her eyes and held my hand. Brother, are you looking for Cheryl? Did you forget? She said she wanted to travel abroad for a while. I suddenly realized the past scenes rushed into my mind. We, who had a good ending, were just in a dream, a beautiful dream. But reality was a different story. On Cheryl's 10th birthday, we lost our parents. Since then, as a half-grown child, I had been taken on the role of father and mother. At first, I still loved Cheryl like before, but the pressure of life was too great and crushed my frail shoulders. With nowhere to vent, in the quiet of the night, I felt like I was going crazy. If only Mom and Dad were still here. If Cheryl hadn't insisted on eating ice cream, would they have not had the accident? Time went by, and resentment grew in my heart. Later, Winnie also came, and my pressure became even greater. But I couldn't shut her out because she lost her mother in that car accident. Winnie was very obedient and good at reading people's expressions. In comparison, Cher was a bit ignorant. Over time, I started to blame Cher. Until Cher turned 18, I was still immature and was troubled by my competitor and was forced to drink much wine. I even thought it would be better to die there than to suffer so much. They tried to destroy me, but for some reason they let me go later. The next day, when I woke up, I realized that Cher had saved me. But she was the precious treasure that I had cherished for so many years, had been treated and abused like this, and it was all because of me. Regret, anger, and various emotions were overwhelming me. I was scared when I saw Cher coming back covered in bruises. I didn't know how to face her. I didn't know how to face my parents. I was also worried that in the future, people would come to bully her. In my confused state of mind, I made the stupidest decision and kicked her out of the house. As long as she was not my sister, no one would bother her. I was about to beat the suspect to half-death with a stick, but Winnie stopped me. Brother, what will happen to me and Cheryl if you enter the prison? I shrank back in pain. I regretted my actions that night countless times. If only I hadn't gone. If only I hadn't taken those orders. If only I hadn't driven Cher away. After that, I rarely saw Cher. A long time later, on my birthday, Winnie called her. Actually, I was happy in my heart. But when she saw me, she frowned and said it was her last gift for me. She even smashed the items related to Chibi Maruko-chan I had collected for her. I was afraid and anxious that I would lose her. After she left, I had a heart attack and went to the hospital. The next day, I didn't expect to run into her at the hospital. I wanted to go up and ask her, but when I thought about how I looked, I decided not to scare her. Later, I finally collected enough evidence against Felix, but he came to me seeking reconciliation. That night, Cher came and was stimulated. I would always remember her desperate and lifeless eyes. So I deserve to die. Congratulations, Shane. You will get what you want, and I will die soon. So, I won't owe you anything anymore, right? So, brother, goodbye forever? In that moment, I felt like I was going to lose her forever. I instinctively chased after her, but suddenly my heart cramped and I fainted. When I woke up again, the doctor told me that if I didn't have a heart transplant soon, I wouldn't live much longer. At the end of life, I suddenly missed my childhood. I sent out many people and finally found Cher. I brought her back to the Jones residence. I wanted to make up for my owe to her in the remaining time. On her birthday, I accompanied her on the Sky Wheel. When it reached the highest point, I apologized to her. But she stared at the sky light outside. "Brother, if one day I also die, will you release a skylight for me?" It was her who would release it for me. Cher should live a long life. Actually, I prepared a birthday gift for her, but I felt it was not enough to express my feelings for her. I wanted to give her everything I have. Back in the bedroom, I drafted my will overnight. A few days later, the hospital told me that a suitable donor had been found. 2 days before the surgery, Cher suddenly said she wanted to go on a trip. Well, it's better for her not to know about my surgery and worry about it. What if the surgery fails? Let her have a happy time outside. Lying on the operating table, I secretly thought that if the surgery was successful, I would make it up to Cher and treat her well for the rest of her life. In a daze, I felt a familiar warmth in my hand. I tried hard to open my eyes and seemed to see Cher. I shook my head. How could I see her here? Didn't she go on a trip? I must miss her too much. The surgery was successful, but when I woke up, I never saw Cher again. There was a familiar feeling of heartbeat in my chest, but it was quickly dispelled because I received a postcard from her abroad. Day after day, month after month. Cher's phone was always turned off, and she never came back. But every once in a while, I would receive postcards from different places. Chapter 9, Shane's Side Story. 3. It was Cher's birthday again. I held flowers and came to my parents' tombstone. I wiped off the dust on it with my own hands. There was a small tombstone next to them, without a name or a photo. My heart suddenly ached for no reason. I gently touched the tombstone, tears falling without warning. Drop by drop, my tears were like the wet rain season.